You are listening to Bearcat Insider with everybody's favorite assistant coach, Travis Marsh, and I'm Chance Kirby. Now to the show.
All right, welcome everybody to Bearcat Insider, the Brock post-game show. I'm bringing you in because the win streak has ended. It's been a while.
Well, this post-game show is brought to you by CS Designs.
Yeah, see, I'm so out of practice, I don't even know how to do it anymore.
So we'd like to thank CS Designs for being our title sponsor of the post-game show.
Correct.
Take care of all of your barnuminium needs.
Yes, he's
Anything
everybody's
else?
favorite assistant.
Anything
Coach Travis
else?
Marsh.
PowerPoint's favorite son?
Is
Chance
that what I
Kirby?
am today?
You are.
After this cast, I may not be, because I want to open with a wild opinion.
Oh, Lord.
I want to open with a commentary. Lower the light. Let's put my signature on the bottom of the screen, even
Okay.
though it's audio. And then I'm going to give you and probably 3/4 of the community to tell me what an idiot I am.
Perfect. I like to do that.
My goal for the Bearcats is a state championship, not a district title.
Yeah, I like where you're going so far.
Not a district title.
Yeah.
By saying that, you will never convince me that our best chance at said state championship was to do anything but lose that game Friday. Now, hold on, before I see the condescending look already.
No, I'm trying to package what I'm going to say appropriately.
And for those of you yelling at the podcast right now, hear me out. If we won that game, and I know some of you, probably you, Trent, listening now, are flexing and saying how crazy I am. It is a tall task for any team, and now Brock has been given that task. We would have been asked in a 5-week stretch to beat the number 2 team in state twice, beat the number 1 in state once, and then after that you're in the Final Four, so then you're having to beat
who's left?
Which if you
It
win
would be
state,
a good football team.
yeah, which would be a hell of a run, but it's tough for anybody just factoring in injury and everything else that's out there. By losing to win state, if you're only looking at the bracket, we have to either beat the number 2 team in state or the number 1 team in state in week 4. Now, we still have to do our job and get there. If we lose to early this week, doesn't matter. And then it's anyone's game. So, looking at a bracket and the focus is a state championship, convince me that losing last week is not the best thing for us.
When you look at it big picture, if we're looking at the macro, okay, it is the best thing. If you're looking at the small picture in the micro, you want to win every game. Because in theory, if you win every game, confidence is going to be good. Proves you're a good football team. If you can beat the number 2 in the state, means you're probably pretty good. So there are positives to winning. But if you look at it big picture and you zoom out, and this is not disrespect to early at all or our future opponents, but we have the easier road.
Well, speaking of our other opponents, Shallow Water is saying the same thing. Shallow Water is saying,
They dodged Brock.
thank goodness Pilot Point didn't beat Brock, because now we only have to either play Brock or Jim Ned. I mean, it didn't just affect us, but
Yeah.
I'm saying it only because I only care about the orange and black.
Not decap, orange and black.
No, I care about them now. I'm a fan of decaps.
Okay, go Bears.
I'm cheering for the Bears beat ARP. It just, you can't convince me otherwise. Now that the game's over, I'm not going into that game if I was in your position and say, okay, guys, we're gonna meld this in.
Well, you can't. Somebody will get hurt.
Well, not only that, it's an excellent opportunity to test where you're at.
Yeah.
But I did say before the game, I'm not doing revisionist history. Anyone that asked me, I told them already before, how do you want this game to come out? And I said I'd like a hell of a game and maybe a 1-point loss. And for 3.5 quarters, it was a hell of a game.
It was. I like to think that the Friday night battle started with the 8th grade game on Thursday night.
Okay.
Very rarely have we talked junior high football. This might be the first time in 2 years.
Other than calling you a junior high coach.
So, Brock has a really good football program, which trickles down all the way to the 7th grade team. The 8th grade game ended with a Bearcat loss, and it was 52-40. and it was about as good of a junior high game as you could possibly ask for. At the end of the first quarter, it was 28-22, and we were just throwing haymakers, little junior high haymakers.
Yeah.
And I would like to think the battle started there, and it continued to Friday night. I mean, it started off as not a throwing haymakers score fest, but it was a good back and forth. And then really, when it gets away from us to where the scoreboard looks bad, is the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, and man.
And I'm not a big proponent of, it was way closer than the scoreboard indicates, or man, this game wasn't as close as the score looks.
I don't care. I'm not a sports psychologist. Have read a few sports psychology books though, but
that means you're more qualified than I am.
I think if we have to play them again, the last half of the fourth quarter did us a lot of favors, because you've been around and coached a lot more young minds than I ever have. That's a heck of a hill to climb to get through those kids' psyche and say, take these guys seriously. Because the kids are only going to remember that how easy it was. They're going to dismiss, because that's what we all do.
Oh, yeah.
We forget the bad stuff. We just remember the good stuff. They're just going to think we just whipped those guys. They weren't a challenge.
In the sense of either rematch, if we were fortunate enough to play in the fourth round again, in assuming that it's a Brock Jim Ned third round matchup and we get the winner, I like being in our position more than I like being in their position.
I agree.
Because what did we have in the fourth round against Jim Ned? We had the fact that we bounced them in the first round the year before.
Yeah.
And so they had the revenge factor.
Well, when we had Brock 2.0 a few years ago,
They had the revenge factor.
I'm sure all week, too, you're telling the kids, different game, different team.
Well,
it's a month later.
Not to mention that.
It was a month and a half later.
On the other side, from us in Brock, you have a motivational genius over there that I'm sure that they had, whatever the score was, 14-13 or whatever it was, that was the ending score. I bet you it was plastered everywhere. You know, that became their battle cry.
Yeah.
And so, if you look at it and we're looking big picture, say we're fortunate enough to win against Early. The second round, we are likely, I'm sure we're going to be predicted to play Shallow Water.
We are.
Now they have the revenge factor. Say we're fortunate enough to beat Shallow Water, and we go to the third round, you're looking at either Bushland or Whitesboro. That's kind of my
wow.
that would be the ones that I put there.
Those are that game's juicy either way.
Well, revenge factor either way.
Yeah.
And so, when you look at that, we have our work cut out for us. I mean, first off, we have our work cut out for us with Early. But then the next few weeks, it's people that, it's not going to be Shallow Water being, West Texas good, number 3 in the state. They're saying, y'all remember last year?
We do.
Yeah. And so, it's one of those things. But, not to get too far away from Brock, because this is the Brock postgame show. I don't feel like talking in depth about all of their scores. What it comes down to is they're really good. They did some things really, really well. We did some things poorly. They had some gaping holes to run through, as evidenced by your pictures. We missed some plays. They made some plays. They're a good football team. And so hats off to them. They did their job. I thought Cutter Wilson, in the preseason podcast, we talked about how replacing Cash Jones, he is not Cash Jones, but he's a good running back. He's still plenty good. But talking about our scores, Cutter Wilson's 21 for the Eagles, and he's pretty good. 21 for the Bearcats, pretty good.
He is.
So the first touchdown for us was Ish Harris on a 45-yard run.
That first down.
Under center here, Brock bringing pressure.
And it's going to leave a hole up the middle.
Okay, come on,
Ish Harris, he has a chance. He's going to take it to the house. Bearcats are going to go within one score here. Big play there by Ish Harris.
Flex on him.
Pelzel Printing, touchdown for the Bearcats.
Well, we needed that.
Yeah, it was right up the middle. Pretty awesome. I thought he jumped over a guy.
Showed off his regional final hurdle skills.
He did. And shout out to the line. There was a hole there. There was a heck of a hole there. I was standing at the goal post.
Yeah,
and
it was a good play.
It opened up.
Yeah, I thought that the line did a great job, and Ish did a really good job of hitting it right in the right spot, and it hit it hard, and then had a little hurdle there, but then once he got back on the ground, he made one cut and he was gone. But that's one thing that I think you look at Ish, and of course you think that he's going to be like the high school Derrick Henry. Big kid, built well. Ish has fantastic vision. He really does. And so I think that play is a great way to show off his vision.
The schematically, pick your brain for what you'll give me, being that we still have games
probably
to
not
play.
much.
No, but was that hole and that opportunity there because of the focus on Aiden?
No,
Okay.
not that particular play.
Gotcha.
Now, all night, yes, because we basically Aiden got some form of double coverage most of the night, and it wasn't obvious to where there's two guys over there on top of him, and now we're playing 9 on 10. They just did a good job of putting a safety where he was always within reach of getting over the top of Aiden.
And then I know you're going to tell me no, even if the answer isn't no. Is there any way the defense is going to have to make a commitment every week? Who are we going to focus and not let beat us? We're going to either not let Aiden beat us, or we're not going to let Ish beat us.
Yeah.
And there's no way to cover both of them.
Unless you're Brock.
Yeah. Ish still had over 100 yards.
He did, and Aiden still had 6 catches for 40-something, which is it's a more of a workman-like performance, but he's still productive.
Yeah. All right. Second TD.
Ish Harris again.
But there's so much green on this side.
Seems like we're staying away
We're
from
going to give Ish
75.
Harris there.
There
He's
he goes.
going to stroll
Great play
in.
call.
There he goes. That same play call. Ish Harris strolls in for a Pelzel Printing touchdown. 4:17 left in the third quarter. Bearcats pull within one possession.
Great play call.
Coach Peacock did a fantastic job dialing it up.
Sorry, station mascot's trying to tweak the dials on the equalizer there. Okay, anyway, John and Ryan are saying it. Man, there's a lot of green over here on the right side. A lot of green. And then sure enough, Ish just works his way over there.
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic play call by Coach Peacock. And, he saw it and he called it just at the right time. So.
Yeah, things felt good then. We're down by 7.
Yeah, a little mo.
You're all excited.
Did.
You got some vertical.
I feel better about it. If you look at last year's highlight.
You're getting higher?
I feel like I got a lot higher.
You're carrying less weight.
I am. Thanks to Terry Slay for pointing that out.
Wow, okay. What was the lean before? Was that something?
Yeah, it's me and Ish thing.
Okay, it caught my eye.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But, and unfortunately we get to stop talking about scoring now. But we can talk about we got to get better on offense and on defense. But the good thing is we have a week to get better. That wasn't the win or get in game. It wasn't the final game of the season. So, it's I think it's a good eye opener that we're not where we want to be, even though we were on a good win streak and we were playing decent football. This would be the week to get the wake up call, because the next time we lose,
it's basketball season.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a great tune-up. What better time to play the number 2 team in state than in the last regular season game, when ultimately, as far as playoff picture, it doesn't matter, like you said, and it gives you a chance to look at things and correct them going into when every game's going to be.
No, and Brock's a good football team, so what I'm about to say, I'm not trying to take away from them. Even though the scoreboard looked the way it looked, and they were number 2 in the state, and we were not in the top 10, that wasn't a game where we got brutalized.
I don't feel like I did the week after Gunner.
Exactly. We didn't just get brutalized. We didn't get pummeled. We didn't just get teed off on to where we looked like we were somebody's highlight film.
Correct. And to use that example, after Gunner, can't imagine there's a whole lot they watched after that game and thought, we need to work on this, we need to fix this.
Yeah.
I think we definitely sent Brock home with things that they were looking at Saturday morning, saying, hey, that we've got to close these things up.
Oh, for sure.
And it's an opportunity for them, too.
Yeah.
To be tested and get tuned up, which
that's
all we need is them to be more tuned up.
If you look at things and you go with football fandom logic, we want Brock to do well until round 4. I don't have a problem with Brock if they're successful or not. It's not. If you look at it, their circle is not really within our circle, if that makes sense. I can't really elaborate too much more than that.
Well, if any of you from Brock listen to this, which I got the sense talking to some people this week that you guys do, I am not saying this to be bulletin board material. I don't want to replace Steps.
Yeah, his
Twitter,
pin tweet, leave it up there.
Pin tweet, leave it up there. That is not what I'm saying. And I would ask the same question if Brock was sitting here. If we're fortunate enough to make it to the 4th round, and Brock is fortunate enough to make it, is that who would you rather play a team that you have a history with and is in your district, and that could even apply to Whitesboro, that you're more familiar with, or would you rather play someone? Because there's negatives and positives on both sides.
Are you looking at
I'm not asking
as opposed to the alternative?
Yes.
Like, would I rather play Jim Ned or Brock?
And I'm not asking you to call a shot, and I'm not saying based on their skill players. I'm just saying based on familiarity. Would you rather play a Whitesboro team who they know you,
let's
you
take
know
it
them?
out. We're going to have Team A and Team B.
Okay.
All right, Team A, we play all the time. Okay, and that's really, if taking Team A out of it, that's Whitesboro.
Yeah.
After football season, we're going to play them in basketball, and then after basketball season, we're going to be in the same track and baseball district. We play them year-round. Brock, we play football.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the stark difference of that. Going back to circles, Whitesboro's in our circle. So that ups the ante on that. I would rather not play Whitesboro again.
That's the way I think, too.
Because we already have a win.
Well, even removing that, for everything you know about them, they know about you.
Yeah, I mean, they know our kids. They all go to Whataburger together.
A weird random injury that week. They're going to know about it about 5 minutes after you know about it.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'd rather play the complete unknown.
The complete unknown is better than a familiar opponent. And part of the reason why I believe that is I believe in our coaching staff. I think that if you take somebody who doesn't know us and we don't know them, I feel like we would be able to put a really good plan in place. So I feel like our ability to prepare is going to be superior to familiarity.
And I don't remember if we had this cast when we did the Brock 2.0 or you and I were just talking, but I remember asking you at that time, when you're playing someone the second time, do you redo everything that you did to then try to not be predictable, or do you roll in there with what you had? And I think your response then was you roll in there pretty much with what you always have, and you try to beat them.
You add wrinkles.
Yeah.
But you can't wholesale anything.
See, I would be guilty of trying to outthink myself, which would ultimately do harm.
Well, it is because you have to remember that, man, you can have really smart coaches, and you could make the change. You could wholesale change everything and put all these new wrinkles in. But even though you know what's going on as the coach, is that 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kid going to be able to make the wholesale change and not know what's going on and not get confused and be able to work fast? And that's what the limitation is. And that's not Pilot Point kids. That's every kid. In general, kids have a memory that gets full, just like your laptop does, and says, "Hey, there's too much. You can't put any more in there because it's full." The kids are the same way. You eventually you start shoving new formations in, and the old formations are getting pushed out to make room. And then all of a sudden you get in the middle of the game and you're like, well, I want to go back to this basic play from Plainview. And the kids are like, well, what? And it's the damnedest thing because they can remember every song lyric from every song ever made. They can remember all the landing zones in Fortnite. You can ask them something about Call of Duty and they'll recite every gun. But then they can't remember where to line up and rip. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And so that's one of those things that is a limiting factor, that you can't just watch football on Saturday and Sunday and see all these awesome things that happen from all these other teams and be like, man, I want to do that. Let's put it in. Because if you put something in, or what are you going to push out?
Maybe rename your calls Fortnite landing zones.
Yeah. Shady Shores.
Yeah. What's the one that my kids always complain that isn't around anymore, that they always miss?
Man.
Some old landing zone.
The city was fun. I don't remember what they called it, though. That was,
yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to ask.
There's something that, they always complain about that isn't there anymore.
Well.
Anyway, sorry to bog you down.
We digress.
You older folks,
talk.
when we mentioned, yeah.
Sorry, Greg.
Half our audience just checked out.
Sorry, Greg. We just talked video games.
Yes, darn video games. All right, well.
I don't know if there's more disappointment in the whole entire world than whenever a kid gets up on Thursday mornings to talk at Bearcat Breakfast at the Gridiron Fellowship, which is 5:45 a.m. on Thursdays at Buffs.
Still continuing all through
Everybody's
the playoffs.
welcome.
Y'all should be there.
Yes. But Greg gets the kids up there to introduce them and tell them about themselves, and they talk about their parents and their grades, and he's like, well, what's your hobby? And, he really likes it when people are like, well, hunting and fishing. And you can see him kind of puff his chest out like, yeah.
Or when Aston said banking.
Or
finance.
Yes, commercial banking and screen printing T-shirts.
Yes.
He kind of puffs his chest out with, hunting and fishing. But, man, that first kid's like, well, I like to play Xbox. And you can just see the disgust on Greg's face.
I really think, though, apologize to all you Bearcat fans that we've broken out into Greg Pelzel talk.
Who else would we talk about?
Coach David has the same view. I sit by him every morning, and the life force is drawn out of him when you say video games as well. But I do think that if you could get Greg to sit down for 5 minutes and you were to show him the Madden playbook.
Yeah.
I think there are more people out there in the world right now that understand what Cover 2 is because of Madden than without Madden.
Our kids need to play more Madden then. But maybe we should put a me versus Greg Madden game on Twitch.
That wouldn't even be fun.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. Let's take a break, and then when we come back from the break, let's talk your favorite subject, stats.
Are you looking to build that dream home or barn-dough? CS Designs offers a complete range of design services. CS Designs products range from general drawing services to commercial and residential blueprints, as well as 3D renderings and virtual reality walkthroughs. Let Cole Stewart and the CS Design team design you a beautiful progressive home or building that translates your ideas into an outstanding reality. Visit their website at csdesignstx.com or give them a call at 940-365-4048.
And welcome back from that break. As always, big thank you to CS Designs for sponsoring this show. And let's talk a little stats. We've talked about all the touchdowns and kind of how the game got out of hand.
Yeah, the most glaring stat that everyone knows is the score.
Yes.
Brock 47, Pilot Point 13. We'll just go down the list here. Passing. You're not going to be happy. The completion percentage is exactly 50%. Wyatt was 18 of 36 for 166 yards. 1 TD, 1 interception. And that's his first, correct me if I'm wrong, real interception since Plainview, I think. The DeKalb interception was also driving to score at the end of a half.
Yeah, we've thrown 2 interceptions that are just kind of Hail Mary balls. I hate that it's even considered an interception, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it should be able to be designated differently. But yeah, I think you got to go all the way back before this one to week 1.
Yep.
Where he threw
it's a long time.
It is a long time. especially when a guy's throwing as many balls as he is.
Yeah.
Ish Harris, 20 carries, 109 yards. His longest was 45, and 1 TD. And I wanted to point out for the Ish haters of the world, which sadly there are some.
Yeah.
That's last year and this year he topped 100 yards against Brock.
He did. He's had 2 good games back to back.
Who has a stout defense.
Yeah. No, and that's it was a workmanlike performance from Ish, and I thought, the long run that he scored on, which we've already talked about, that cut that he made is fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, it was a good game by Ish.
Well, was it a run? It all runs together. It was a run, the one that got called back, correct? That was great moves too.
No, that was a pass to the flat.
Oh, okay. Darn me.
No, I was.
Oh yeah,
not
because it was an illegal receiver downfield.
It was.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I get so excited looking at these stats. I forget what I'm saying.
I understand.
He's the only rusher other than the quarterback, which usually always gets some rushes. I don't recall that this year, that we've only had one rusher. So, interesting in some way.
It was just kind of one of those games for the flow of the game and the way it was going and what Gage was being asked to do defensively that we didn't really get to the point where we were trying to get Ish out of there. I mean, I don't really know.
Well, he was having a good game, for one thing.
Yeah, and
Keep the hot hand.
It is his last game at Massey.
Yeah.
And regardless of what the statistics say and what people think that the all-time greats are, he is quite possibly our highest-ranked recruit ever.
Only because Rivals wasn't around when Jerome Johnson was playing. But
yes. And so, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It was.
Or when you were playing.
Of course, me. Yes, thank you. No, 0 stars has existed for a long time.
Receiving, again, we're mixing it around a little bit, which makes me happy. And I want to start off with number 4, who had 4 catches for 26 yards for the longest of 9 yards. And when you just look at this stat sheet, you're like, 4 catches for 26 yards. It seemed like every catch that Cade made, we needed him to make that catch at that time. It was important third downs. At least that's the way I remember it. And he brought them down.
No, he did. I thought he played fantastic.
It's his best game of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
offensively.
No, absolutely. They were timely catches. They were good catches. Some of them were not really options because that's just how hard Wyatt threw it.
Yeah.
But he still came down with it in traffic. They were contested catches. So I thought he played a really good game.
So maybe we shouldn't have him wide open in the end zone. We should. He needs to be in traffic.
And don't wait for the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. But no, I was very pleased with his output.
But to go back to the top of the list, Ish was actually the leading receiver as well at 3 receptions for 46 yards and 1 TD. Aiden had 6 catches for 45 yards. That's the first time now in 7 weeks that he didn't break 100. He had 6 weeks prior.
Yeah, they had a. You could
they
tell
planned for him.
They had a plan, and they executed it. They high-load him,
Yeah.
which is always a good plan. Other teams have tried it and didn't have the personnel to get it done. Brock had the personnel.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. No surprise on tackles. Carly Brockman led the team in tackles, 6 solos, 4 assists. Ish was second with 8 solos and 1 assist. And he made some tackles that, it's not saving a great play when you see Curly make a tackle because it's right there in the line amongst people.
Yeah, it's
now,
in the mix.
Unless he flips someone like he does on occasion.
No, those are fun.
It's just really noticeable. But, man, that one that Ish made when they fumbled the ball and rolled out to the right side, that was a big play. And then there were a couple times that their 21 cut, and it's him and Ish brought him down.
Yeah, and, Ish does one really, I guess, big positive thing about Ish is he's a fantastic open field tackler. He doesn't miss much, and especially whenever you get him near the sideline, he does a really good job of corralling people and taking away the cutback and using the leverage of the sideline to his advantage. He really is a good open field tackler. I know the common criticism is he misses tackles because he's trying to blow kids up instead of making tackles, and that has happened on occasion.
He blew a kid up on that free ball, too.
He did.
That would have been a big play.
The claimed pass interference that was not?
Yes, it wasn't called. I'm not saying it.
No.
I don't know.
But, he really does a good job of being a center fielder for us. And he's not the type of center fielder that Avery was, where it was a whole bunch of interceptions. He's more like the eraser.
Yeah.
When somebody makes a mistake in front of him, he typically does a pretty good job of cleaning it up. Now on the 91-yard run that we mentioned, he did not, but it happens.
Can't make them all.
No.
And then the ones you don't make, they remember.
Yep.
We had 2 fumble recoveries, Aiden Cox and Gage Anderson, and then we don't keep the statistic, and I don't know why, but I think Aiden had a batted ball.
Yes,
too.
he did.
Yeah.
Off of pass rush, he did a good job getting his hands up.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's always fun to see.
Yeah. I wish you would have picked it off.
Well,
That'd have been more fun.
Yeah.
It's crap, Aiden.
Work on that this week. Who's their coach? He should be teaching them better.
Defensive end coach.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it for the statistical highlights. I know all of you are going to be sad this year because since we don't do the pregame show and John and Ryan do such a good job, you're going to miss our travel Texas segment on who is and what is early as a community.
Shout out early.
And we've all been there. Those of us that went to the Wall game in 17, that's where it was played in their home building.
Well, we can only hope that the Purple Longhorns
play like the orange ones.
Play like the orange ones.
Yeah, but you do.
And I hope we're Iowa State or Baylor.
Yeah.
Or Oklahoma.
That one was too close.
A win's a win at this point.
Yeah, I don't like those close games though. We've talked about that.
I know.
It's too stressful for me.
But it's playoff time. It's now is the measure of if you're actually a good Bearcat team or not. Getting to the dance.
That's expected.
Yeah, that is the absolute expectation. That's the bottom line. That's the minimum standard. Now it's what are we made of?
Yeah.
Or is the old mantra that as it gets colder the Bearcats get better? Is that what's going to come out now, or is it?
And not only that, the standard's been set of the past 2 years to play 14 games, and as crazy as that sounds, I'm not too sure. It's hard to judge this community, but I think the community reaction would be if we're not at least equal to that, they're going to feel like that they were shortchanged.
Yeah.
So minimum 14, Coach.
Right. And honestly, the profession and the cruel profession that it is, and I love it, is you end up being the victim of your own standards.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just said and what happened.
Yeah.
Took the past 2 years and they'll put it on you.
And that's what it is. That's how it works. That's we're not going to be judged against Coach David's 1980 and 1981 teams. The 1982 team was, though.
Yes.
And that was a dang good football team. But they're never going to get the same love because, those guys were undefeated for 2 straight years. How dare you not go all the way to the dance?
Yeah.
And so, we've kind of, in some ways, backed ourselves into a corner. And then if we go 14 games this year, well, what is everybody going to expect next year?
Oh, we just can't get over the hump.
Yeah,
that's
we can't get over the hump.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. And that's at every level. Good coaches get fired all the time because of whatever, sometimes good reasons, and sometimes they're just victims of their own success.
Did the early win throw you guys into any kind of chaos? Had you spoken to Early? For those of you who didn't know, don't listen to the Dig show, Early was not expected to beat Wall. So Early beating Wall was a surprise and reshuffled that district. Had you guys made communications with them prior to Friday night?
Very, very brief.
But y'all do cover the contingencies just in case?
Yeah, I mean, you want to know everything that's there, and then, after the game, I got on the phone with Coach Price from early, and we hammered everything out. He's an easy guy to work with in that regard.
Some aren't.
There are some that are jerks, but not Daniel Price of the early Longhorns. He was a pleasure to work with and hammer things out, and we got it all figured out for 7:30 p.m. Friday night, November 12th at Saginaw High School.
Yeah, we're a little familiar with that stadium.
We're not.
That's not where we played Jim Ned?
No, that was Chisholm Trail. This is Saginaw High.
I did not know that.
So we're not off the loop anymore. Now we're off of Blue Mountain Road, 156, slightly north.
I need to pay attention to things. Got you all choked up there just
You did.
talking about it.
I got so mad at you just then.
So, all right, totally new stadium.
Yeah.
Maybe I should make a post. If
The prevailing thought is that it is at Chisholm Trail, and it is not. It is at Saginaw High School, 800 Blue Mound.
Yeah, I need to make a note because I would have just driven to that stadium.
And be like,
I would not have even
hey, what
thought
up, buses?
twice.
Where are y'all?
Yeah.
Or there's going to be somebody else there. You might have watched somebody else's
I would have been
playoff game.
messaging you like, where are you and what happened?
Why is this other team in our stadium?
Yes. Okay.
That's Saginaw High School. And
Wow. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
So
I
we're away.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Tickets are at the gate.
Yes. And we're audio only. I've already got a text about it, confused this morning. UIL owns the rights once the playoffs start, so we can't do video. And don't rush out, as I told the gentleman that texted me this morning, and buy that pay-per-view NFHS subscription, because there's no guarantee they're going to be at this game. So,
it all depends on what Saginaw's setup is.
correct. So you could go buy the pay-per-view thinking you're going to see that game and still not see the game.
And the other part of that is that, on the old NFHS, you're not going to hear John Little
No,
or Ryan Menard.
there's some out there that are way technologically more advanced than I am that actually watch the NFHS cast during the playoffs and sync our sound with that cast.
Yeah.
Phew, that's my mind blowing right there, but it can be done because
Wow.
I've spoke to someone that's done it. But good luck with that.
Yeah, that sounds intense.
Yeah. So there's that, and then any other loose ends?
Unless you want to start talking a little middle school basketball, because that's what I started this morning.
I don't want to talk about anything that has a round ball with it until around Christmas time.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I don't even like that you brought it up.
It's middle school. It's not an option.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, we want to thank CS Designs for everything that they do for this show and for their sponsorship. And again, anything that you want designed, those guys are the guys to do it. They do a fantastic job. Cutting edge.
Yeah.
Would you say cutting edge?
Oh, I've never seen anything like it except on that what's the show the two twins are on? They're
That'd be
always,
Property Brothers.
yeah, and they'll show people what their house looks like
Yeah.
before it's finished. That's the kind of stuff they're throwing down over there.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. And then other than that, it's Gold Ball season, and see if we can go add to the collection.
Yeah, and we will be talking to you next week one way or the other.
Hopefully very positively.
Yes. I don't want to be playing Everybody Hurts to
No.
open the show.
All right, as always,
Go
go Bearcats.
Bearcats.